Hi everyone, my name is Daisy and my presentation is on password and Wi-Fi safety. A quick overview of what I will be presenting on is password tips, the difference between secured versus unsecured Wi-Fi, and the do's and don'ts of Wi-Fi safety. But before I get into that, I want to ask you a few questions about your passwords that you have. Is your password the same as your username? Is your password for your email account the same for your other online accounts? Do you use private information for your password? Do you save your passwords on public computers? If you've answered yes to any of these questions, your accounts have a higher susceptibility of being hacked. But don't worry, I have some tips that can help you help your passwords be more strong. So tip number 1, make passwords long. The reason why we should make our passwords long is because hackers use different methods to try to get into your accounts. And with technology nowadays, it's hackers have great resources to do this. So it's been said that passwords that are 3 characters long take less than a second to crack. So the shorter the password, the easier it is to hack. So with that said, longer passwords make it more complicated for hackers to get into your account, which is what we want. So make your passwords long. Tip number 2 is do not reuse passwords. And this one's really hard even for myself. It's hard to remember all your passwords, and that's why many of us use the same passwords for all of our accounts. However, that's not the best idea, because if your account has been hacked once and they get and the hackers get access to your password, that means there's a higher chance of them hacking into your other accounts because you've used your that password across your different accounts. So it is best to use different passwords for each account you own, which, if you're wondering how are you supposed to remember all these passwords, tip number 5 will help you with that. But before tip number 5, there's tip number 3, which is do not change your password regularly. And it's been said before that you should change your password every between 1 to 3 months. However, that might not be the best idea. Changing your password regularly might actually make you more vulnerable to hackers. So it is best to choose a strong password in the beginning and leaving it alone. However, if you have been notified that there's been a hack into or a data breach into your account, that would be the time when you should change your password. Tip number 4, avoid using personal info. You want to make sure that any information that you might have on social media, like your email or maybe address or a birth date, is not something you use for a password. Just because with technology nowadays it's very easy to get access to that information. The same goes for security questions. You want to make sure that your answers to your security questions do not contain personal information, because that's personal information is a lot more available and easier to access now with social media around. Tip number 5 is going to help you with tip number 2, and that is to use a password manager. A great resource for this is LastPass. LastPass is a great resource. It's awesome for saving and autofilling your passwords. It also has a built-in password generator, which customize controls, so you can create long randomized passwords. It makes online shopping a lot easier because it autofills a lot of your information. And it's free. You can always upgrade, but there are resources here that are free for you to use. So I definitely recommend looking into LastPass. Tip number 6, there's this. If you're wondering how strong your password may be, there is this website called Password Random, and you enter your password, whatever it may be. Let's say if it's butterfly 567, it shows the strength of your password. Transitioning now to Wi-Fi, there are 2 kinds of Wi-Fi networks, secured and unsecured. With unsecured Wi-Fi, there's no password. No password is needed. You may find this at when you're at the airport or at a local Starbucks. A secured Wi-Fi network you need to set up an account and a password is needed. Wi-Fi safety do's and don'ts. Do connect to secured networks whenever possible. They're just safe. They're a lot safer and a lot less likely to get hacked into. Do turn off automatic connectivity. Your electronic device may be automatically set up to connect to a local hotspot or a local network, and you want to disable this feature because sometimes your device will automatically connect to a network that you would not normally use. So to be safe, keep these settings turned off, especially when you're in unfamiliar areas. Do monitor your Bluetooth connectivity. Bluetooth connectivity allows various devices to communicate with one another. So depending on where you're going, you may want to consider disabling this function. A don't for Wi-Fi safety is do not shop online when you're using a public network or an unsecured network. The reason being is if you're shopping and you're putting your private information like your credit cards or your address while using an unsecured network, there is a chance that hackers may have access to that information. And again, as you don't want to shop online, you also don't want to access personal bank information while you're using an unsecured network. However, if you're at home or at the house of someone you trust and you're using their secured network, you should feel more comfortable in accessing this information. So again, I do not recommend you do any sorts of shopping or accessing personal information while you're using unsecured networks. And that is it. I hope these tips and these do's and don'ts help you and you're able to utilize them in the future.